At the end of each test level, depending on the number of errors the student makes, the system will compute the student's score and determine if the student stops or continues testing. In this case, the student has made too many errors and testing is stopped. This results page shows the number of errors the student made, including the score level, designation, proficiency level, raw score, percentile, and so forth. At the bottom of the page, you have a choice to print the score information and run the diagnostic report for the student. Let's go ahead and run the diagnostic report. For the purpose of this training, we're going to take a look at another student's diagnostic report. Here's the first page. On top, you have the student information, the school's information, the test information, and then the test scores. On the bottom half, we see a summary of the profile level and the designation results and what they mean, including the highest test level administered and where testing stopped. For Lucy, both her oral score level and test level was E, so her designation is LES, and proficiency level was Early Advanced. Next to the graph, there is a written summary that explains what students at level E can do. Now this is important to consider because the next few pages in this report will summarize information relative to Lucy's proficiency level, in this case relative to level E. For instance, students at Lucy's level, which is level E, can identify common classroom items, use past tense correctly, and retell the main facts behind a story, and so on. With that in mind, let's have a look at her report and see how many of those things she can or cannot do. This page shows a snapshot of questions Lucy got correct or incorrect. The test levels are in the columns and the 4 main skills tested are in the rows. And Lucy's diagnostic report will of course depend on her answers here. Here we see a graph showing that Lucy has no relative weaknesses in vocabulary, grammar, comprehension, and BICS. And as a reminder, relative here means relative to level E students. Moving on, she shows mild weaknesses in her listening and speaking skills, and for language functions, she shows relatively severe weakness. Aside from the graph, you have a written summary of Lucy's diagnostic results here, and the next page also further explains which skill areas Lucy is showing mild to severe weakness in. Based on this report, the next few pages show instructional recommendations to help Lucy build and overcome her weaknesses using English language development programs like Ballard and Tye's Carousel of Ideas. You may want to print this diagnostic report and file it with the student's records. Let's close this window and return to the test administration screen. You may now continue testing other students by clicking on the Return to Manage Oral Tests button and repeat the same process to test more students. In the event that a test administration is interrupted, you may resume testing by clicking on the View Incomplete Oral Test button. This concludes our OnlineIPT in-service training for examiners.